Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the White House. My name is Jorge Neri. I'm the Associate Director for the Office of Public Engagement here at the White House. I deal with the Latino and immigration portfolio for the White House. Today I have the pleasure of introducing someone who is a true champion for minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, Latino-owned businesses, someone that has focused her work in the nonprofit sector. She was the CEO, the founder and president of Pro America Bank in California. She also was the California Secretary of Business, Transportation, and Housing. She's played a critical role in helping entrepreneurs have access to capital in the state of California, and now she's doing that at a national level. She is someone that understands this issue, the issue of immigration, a great deal. She immigrated to this country when she was 5 years old from Guadalajara, Mexico, with her 5 siblings. So understands it at a very personal level, at a very local level, and now she's doing tremendous work for the administration as the administrator for the Small Business Administration. With that, Maria Contreras Sweet.
Hello, how is everybody? Hello, how are we doing? Hello, what a treat. This is such an incredible treat. I'm so delighted to welcome you all to our South Court here in this beautiful auditorium. And you know, we as immigrants all like to acknowledge our family. And so I always like to say that, you know, I'm Maria Contreras. My husband says he met Maria quite contrary, and then he made her sweet, Ray Sweet. And thank you to Jorge for inviting me out to this stage today. I also want to acknowledge somebody that you're going to be hearing from very, very soon, and that is a great friend and a leader from my hometown of Los Angeles, our outstanding mayor in Los Angeles, Mayor Eric Garcetti. You're going to be hearing from him, and he can hear our voice now, so shout out for him. Thank you. Let me just tell you, he is, and I say this publicly, he is my favorite mayor. And I'm delighted to say that I understand that he nominated 2 of our champions today. Mayor Garcetti understands what's at stake. He understands that a city as diverse as LA is because of its richness and because of the immigrant population that Los Angeles enjoys. He's been a tireless champion for diversity and an important voice in our immigration debate today. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that you're here for a very special occasion, and I'm delighted to be here with you so that we can recognize some of the champions of change from the business community. As the leader of the Small Business Administration, and as you heard Jorge say, I'm an immigrant myself, I am so grateful for all that what you have done here to bring so many others along. In ways that are large and small, you've gone above and beyond to support your immigrant employees so that they can realize the benefits of citizenship. You've done righteous deeds to help your employees navigate what can be a very long, arduous, and complicated process. And in so doing, you've helped expand our American family, and you've strengthened your enterprises as well as our national economy. You've heard the president say, and we are so proud to boast, that in today's day, we have now experienced 55 months of consecutive job growth. That is a first in American history. And do you know that job growth, 2/3, 2 out of every 3 net new jobs is being created by the small business community. Today, 1/2 of our private workforce is employed by a small business member. And immigrants have so much to offer this nation. They have been loyal workers, rising leaders, and job-creating entrepreneurs. Immigrants today are starting businesses at more than twice the national average. They're more than twice as likely to get a patent approved for an innovative product. In Silicon Valley, more than half of all the new startups are founded by immigrants. When we think of the Fortune 500 companies that we boast, 40% were founded by immigrants or children of immigrants. This is a marvel, and it really speaks to the American spirit. And my story is one of those. You heard I was born in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. I came here, as Jorge said, with my 5 brothers and sisters. And I have to tell you, when I was leaving Mexico, and I remembered, our beautiful home, I remembered my belongings, my family, my friends, my church, my school, all of my loved ones. And so many immigrants like me leave all of that behind. They leave their countries to come here for a better life. And my grandmother would always say, please stay focused, and bring others along. Remember that as you travel through your journey in America, it's not the titles you have, it's what you do with the titles that you have. And so it was that at every turn, whether I was the milk monitor in 3rd grade, try to get milk to others, or whether it was when I was helping to start the California Endowment, a multi-billion-dollar organization to help improve the status of Californians, or whether I was working to serve as California's Secretary of Transportation, I always remembered my grandmother's wishes. And she always said that although we've been a family of migrant workers, that in America, if you stay focused and make sure that you're bringing others along, that someday I might be able to work in an office and be a secretary. The good Lord heard her prayers and allowed me to be the Secretary of Transportation and to hold office, and now to be on a president's cabinet. And that is the beauty of America, the majesty, that we have social mobility, that we can build ownership, and that we can have access to capital. And this is why I take such great pride in the immigrant story. We know that immigrants leave so much behind to take risks, to come here to work hard, to work smart, to start new enterprises, and to be put to work. For all the ways that immigrants are making contributions, it's important that we have enlightened business leaders like our 9 champions here today who are going the extra mile to help their employees get naturalized. If you talk to most immigrants in this country, they will tell you about a special person who welcomed them and helped make the transition to America a smoother one. I know I wouldn't be here today if I had not been championed by someone who took an interest in me along the way. And that's why I'm so grateful to be here and to be a part of this beautiful story that is harvested with such bounty in America. All of us know that reforming our broken immigration system continues to be one of our most critical challenges that we all face today. The president has been clear and committed since day one to fix our broken immigration system. The president took courageous action on behalf of our dreamers, and we know that there is going to be even more progress through executive action in the months ahead. So while we continue, all of us, to fight for reform, we must also fight for the men and women who come here from all over the world in search of a better life for themselves and for their families. So today, it's my honor to salute these 9 men and women who've decided to light a candle rather than curse the darkness. I will now call on the champions of change to our stage. Let's hold our applause so we can bring them all together until we have all 9 introduced. Here's our first. We're going to ask Bob Anabali of New York City. He runs City Community Development Department, which is working with municipal governments and leading nonprofit organizations to promote citizenship for eligible, legal, permanent residents. Welcome. Please welcome up next Robert Hill of Miami Beach, Florida. He's the general manager at the Intercontinental Miami Hotel, and he has assisted 40 colleagues with the immigration process. 10 have already obtained U.S. citizenship. There is David Huerta of Los Angeles. He is an SEIU leader who has worked to build an integration program for immigrants that includes English classes for union members. Under his leadership, hundreds of SEIU members have become U.S. citizens. We also have Wendy Kalergis. She is president and CEO of the Greater Miami and Beaches Hotel Association. Under her leadership, 13 businesses have hosted 15 citizenship workshops and offered citizenship services to 6,100 employees. We have from Los Altos, California, Barbara Kam. She is president and CEO of Tech CU Credit Union, which provides free seminars on citizenship services to its employees and members. We have Les Lack of Albany, New York. As Vice President in Operations of Systems at Bloch Precision Ceramics, he worked closely with the literacy volunteers of Rensselaer County to offer English classes to more than 25 employees, and 6 so far have attained citizenship. From Columbus, Ohio, we have Kadra Mohammed. Kadra is the president and CEO of the Center for Somali Women's Advancement, which helps integrate new Americans in Ohio by helping Somalis and other immigrants with citizenship and economics and self-sufficiency. From Miami Beach, we have Jonathan Plutzik. He is chairman and principal owner of the Betsy, a luxury hotel that has collaborated with 250 service-driven organizations to support eligible employees' efforts to become U.S. citizens. From White Plains, New York, we have Teresita Wissel. She is Vice President and Dean of Continuing Education and Workforce Development at Westchester Community College. She oversees the Gateway Center, which offers English language classes, entrepreneurship and financial literacy programs, and citizenship and civic education. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot tell you how appreciative we are of all the ways in which these 9 leaders have used their positions of influence to create a brighter future for our immigrant brothers and sisters. Please stand up and give these people a great round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, our champions of change for 2014. Again, congratulations to each of you. One more time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. On my part, then, I wish you a good afternoon and very successful workshops. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Julie Chavez Rodriguez, and I'm the Deputy Director of Public Engagement here at the White House. As an Angelino for 9 years, it is a tremendous honor to introduce our next speaker. The mayor of the second largest city here in the United States and the 42nd mayor of Los Angeles, Mayor Eric Garcetti. Prior to becoming mayor, Mayor Garcetti was elected 4 times to serve as president of the Los Angeles City Council. Mayor Garcetti is a strong advocate of promoting citizenship to grow our economy. Just last month, he joined Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel, New York Mayor Bill de Blasio, and Citi to launch Cities for Citizenship, a major initiative aimed at increasing citizenship among eligible U.S. permanent residents to create more inclusive, economically robust cities. Mayor Garcetti was recently honored also as Person of the Year by the NAACP. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Eric Garcetti.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Julie. Thank you for your leadership. It's great to have a friend here who is doing such extraordinarily good work. And thank you for welcoming me so warmly. And to my great friend and mi hermana, Maria Contreras Sweet, thank you for your leadership too. You do Los Angeles proud, you do the Latino community proud, you do the immigrant community proud, and you're doing extraordinary work for our small businesses. And I want to thank her so much for welcoming us all here today and the service she has given this country. To our champions of change, let me congratulate each one of you. We are so proud to be with you here today, not only because this White House recognizes always that change comes up from the field, from the cities and the states and the communities of America, But we too in Los Angeles, as one of those places, know that we have a friend in this administration and this president and this vice president and the cabinet who have been frequently and regularly out in the cities of America, the rural areas of America, the tribal areas of America, recognizing that any change that happens in Washington only happens because we organize the United States to be around that. And these champions of change, each one of you, are folks that have been doing that for years. And thank you to the White House for honoring each one of them. I want to give special recognition to the two champions that I nominated for this honor. Bob Anibale, who is just an incredible friend to Los Angeles. Even if he's a New Yorker, we've adopted you as an Angelino as well, the Global Director of City Community Development and Microfinance, who recently provided more than $1.1 million for citizenship programs in my city and the cities of New York and Chicago through our newly launched Cities for Citizenship initiative. And for any of you not from one of those three cities, please talk to your mayor about joining it, because we really want this to be something we do everywhere, and they can come in direct contact with me in my office. We'd be happy to connect you with them. And David Huerta, who is not just a champion in Los Angeles, but throughout this country in the labor movement, president of SEIU in LA, a board member of the Building Skills Partnership, which has brought together labor and management. In this country, we know that business and workers can come together. In fact, I met yesterday both with the head of the Chamber of Commerce and the head of the AFL-CIO, both of whom said, when are we going to get immigration reform done? And we come together when we do things together for this country, and I want to congratulate both of them. Felicidades. As mayor of Los Angeles, you know, I have a story that neatly fits into what we are honoring here today. I'm so honored to be the 42nd mayor of a great American city. But every single day when I step into office, into my office, I still have that pinch me feeling, because I'm the grandson of immigrants who came to this country. My grandfather was born during the Mexican Revolution in Mexico, came over the border as a one-year-old in his mother's, my bisabuela's, arms, came here fleeing the conflict, having lost his father in that war, and settling in the east side of Los Angeles with nothing. Was somebody who, if he were kind of labeled today, would be an at-risk youth who got in trouble with the law. One of my favorite stories was, as a young boy, I used to spend weekends at my grandfather's house, and we once saw a very distinguished man on television on a Sunday morning. My grandmother was making menudo, my grandfather and I were watching television, and he said, "I know that man." And I said, Grandpa, how do you know him? He said, "Well, he's the mayor of Los Angeles, Tom Bradley." I was so impressed that my immigrant grandfather knew the mayor, and I said, "How do you know him, Grandpa?" He said, "Well, when I was younger and he was younger, he arrested me." And Tom Bradley, who had been an LAPD officer before he became mayor, combined with probably falling in love with my grandmother herself, one of 19 children to a Mexican-American family in Arizona that immigrated during deportations of the Depression to Los Angeles, helped him turn his life around. And in World War II, even though he wasn't a citizen yet, the only country he had ever known, he was a dreamer before we called them such, he volunteered to fight for this nation in World War II in the Pacific Theater and earned his citizenship as a result when he came back home. Learned a trade, became a barber, and now here I am today as mayor of Los Angeles, that same city. You know, that is the American dream as well. You work hard, you play by the rules, you can mess up, because this is a city in Los Angeles, and this is a country of second chances. And what we want not so much is to delve into where you've been and where you come from, but where you want to go and what you want to do. And whether it's that you've been arrested once before, or whether you've been homeless, whether you're a veteran coming home, whether you're an immigrant, this country doesn't judge you by those labels, we judge you by your dreams. And that is why it is so important to see the leadership that comes from Washington, that we look to from Washington, and that we buttress from outside of Washington on immigration. The favorite line of the President's State of the Union speech this year was, if you're a mayor or a governor, don't wait for Washington to act. And that inspired me, and I think inspired our governor and others, that in California we've passed a driver's license bill. We signed that on the steps of City Hall in Los Angeles to allow all people to have driver's license, which makes our streets safer and it gives people an identity. We set up an Office of Immigrant Affairs led by Linda Lopez from my staff, who helped make both of these nominations for the Champions of Change who's sitting out here, because cities just like New York already had for many years, and other cities need to have offices of immigrant affairs and helping citizenship, so that in the Los Angeles libraries, every librarian is trained. Every librarian is trained to help people become citizens, and there's a citizenship corner in every library, so every neighborhood in Los Angeles is helping further the American dream for each one of them. And while Washington and the House leadership continues to delay on immigration reform, a majority of Republicans in this country, a majority of Democrats, and certainly independents want comprehensive immigration reform. And I don't think that it should just be, although I have strong faith in this president to take executive action, I think we should challenge our legislators who say, wait a second, the president's doing too much, he has too much power. Well, then prove you have power and pass immigration reform now. Show that, use that, take that challenge so that we don't have to depend just on the president taking action. We are demonstrating that we can fix the problems of this country. But if you look at other nations who don't have the influx of immigrants, they're having real challenges demographically. As they say, demographics is destiny. And in countries like Japan, they're struggling to look at how are they going to pay for the benefits for retiring seniors and an aging population. In Korea, Europe is seeing declines were it not for some countries that have immigration in their population. It is the influx of immigrants that is the future of our economy. And certainly as mayor of the second largest city in this country, but as the most diverse collection of human beings ever put in one spot. Los Angeles has over 200 languages spoken, over 115 countries of origin. We have 39 countries with their largest population outside their home country residing in Los Angeles. In some cases, the second biggest city of people of that descent, period. Los Angeles is the second biggest city of people of Mexican descent in the world. You go back to Mexico for number 3. We see that not as a challenge, which we might have 20 years ago, but as a strength, as an advantage, as the way that we're going to win in the global economy. We will compete when we integrate. We will compete and win when we are able to make sure that the American dream isn't closed off, when we don't see the hateful images of people storming around a bus for children who are lost seeking their parents, but instead we find our hearts as Americans and we say, of course, as Americans, first and foremost, we care for children, we integrate immigrants, and we care about our economy. But we don't have to just think from our hearts, we think from our heads, because all of the research shows that this isn't just what's good, it's what's right. It is what will help us balance our budgets, grow our communities, invest in our entrepreneurs. And the challenge that America has is the very best challenge that we could have. How to take every corner from the face of this globe and the population that comes here and to figure out a way to make them one people. Not one homogeneous people, but one people who share the values together and the promise that as long as we get everybody to the starting line together, the rest you have to take care of. But when people are starting 50 yards behind, that's not a fair race. And so I want to congratulate each one of the champions of change, because what you are doing is you are inspiring us to act, you are giving us the stories to tell, and you are making sure that nobody is forgotten. The seats that aren't filled, the voices we don't hear, that those voices are being brought to the forefront, that those faces are being given a narrative, so that we don't talk about statistics, that we don't talk about numbers, we talk about people. Just like my grandfather Salvador, just like my grandmother Juanita, those folks who came here, who struggled here, and who made it, and have made this country strong, and will do so for the next century as well. Felicidades, congratulations to everybody, and thank you for the honor. Is that okay? Thank you.
It's my great honor to introduce Laura Patching, who will moderate our very first panel. Laura Patching is Acting Chief of the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Office of Citizenship. In 2001, Laura joined the Immigration and Naturalization Service and helped manage its transition into USCIS, which is under the umbrella of the Department of Homeland Security. She has been part of the Office of Citizenship since 2003, serving as Deputy Chief from 2006 to 2011, prior to her current role as Acting Chief. Thank you so much, Laura, for being here, and I'd like to welcome Laura to the stage and our first panel of champions.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank Liza and the White House Office of Public Engagement, and thanks to all of you who have joined us here today to recognize our champions of change. You are all truly an inspiring group of individuals who show real dedication as individuals and leaders in a very innovative and I hope growing field of those who are willing to step out and support immigrant integration through workplace-based citizenship and other integration services. I would say you are truly intentional in your efforts. You have to be as you grow this kind of integration work. It's hard to imagine when the Office of Citizenship was created in 2003, you could really be hard-pressed to find any of this kind of activity going on. And now we see, 9 of you who are able to showcase and lift up what I know is happening around communities nationwide. And so it's really a great honor to be here. We're going to hear some of the personal stories, what motivates our champions as they work to expand their efforts and build up best practices that I hope will, and I know will be replicated across the country. And so after a brief overview, I'm going to ask some questions and hope that we can glean a little bit more from our experts here. And so I'm first going to start with David Huerta, who's the president of the SEIU, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about you, your story, and the holistic services that you are providing to your members.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, my name is David Huerta. I'm president of SEIU USWW, and I've been part of this organization now for 18 years, which is an organization made up of 40,000 members throughout the state of California. Basically work in the property services or commercial real estate industry as security officers, janitors, also as airport workers. And my inspiration to work for an organization such as SEIU USWW is really my background. My father was a Teamster member. And as a single father, he was able to provide a very decent living for myself and my brother, able to buy a home, able to really, be part of, provide an upbringing for us that really made me really value the issue of, or the labor, right? And so I've been with this organization that really values the issue of labor, really is consistent with my values personally, but most importantly, this organization is really made up of Latino or predominantly immigrant workers. And one of the things, the BS Building Skills Partnership Program that we developed at the organization is to really assist not only in changing the status of many of our members who are eligible for it, but also to create vocational training, also to create opportunities for them in their quality of life, for them to be able to participate in their children's education, but really take a holistic approach on how we can help them become better citizens of this country. And the end result is obviously always in the hope that we would be able to provide the assistance for status change in this, for themselves personally. And status change for them is really what makes it possible for them to have a more productive life in this country. So for me, coming from a Latino background, coming from a city of angels, what we call it, where the issue of immigration has always been front and center in this great city. For me, it's consistent not only with my values as somebody who values organized labor or values the labor movement, but also the work that we can do now with this now incoming immigrant population.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Wendy Kalergis, President CEO, Greater Miami Beaches Hotel Association. Maybe you can tell us how you came to get your organization and your members on board with something so impactful.
Thank you, and I'd like to also thank President Obama for his incredible support of our initiative in inviting us to the White House, as well as the National Immigration Forum for the nomination. And for us, it's an incredible honor to have 3 of us from Miami representing the hospitality industry. It's really a thrill to be with Jonathan and Robert. And I'd like to acknowledge my family for being here, my husband, Nick, Nicholas, and Catherine. Thank you. So I actually find it personally rewarding as the granddaughter of immigrants from Albania and Romania. They were all in Boston, and they had to take English classes to become citizens many, many years ago. We continue to grow the program as the word is spreading, as we've expanded from 2 hotels over a year ago to over 12 today. When I was first introduced to the program, I was invited to Miami-Dade College press conference where they were introducing the Bethlehem Project, and I had a few HR directors with us at the conference, and we were listening, and we were thinking, are there any flaws with this? This is too easy, and sure enough, it is too easy. It's so simple, it's unbelievable. Miami-Dade County has over 100,000 hospitality employees. We have over 500,000 in South Florida that are eligible for U.S. citizenship. So we're very busy with the program, and we're continuing to be very busy and open it up not only to our hotel industry, but to our industry partners, to include sports. We're doing some work with the Miami Dolphins, the winning Miami Dolphins, I may add, right now, hopefully for a long time. We're starting to, branch out into convention centers with the agencies that do work with the convention centers. So I'm very certain that a year from now, our numbers will be triple of what we're doing today.
Very inspiring.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now Les Lack, the Vice President of Operations and Systems at the Blash Precision Ceramics. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience supporting your workforce through ESL and Citizenship program.
Good morning, everyone. My grandparents immigrated from Poland in the early 20th century, along with Dave Bobrecht, our president's family came from Poland, and they worked hard. They had menial jobs in the beginning. They saved money. My parents did the same thing. They sent us to college. I've got like 40 or 50 cousins that have gone to college. They are the backbone of the United States now. Their story is the same story as the immigrants who come and work for us. I have led a fairy tale life because of them. I married my own princess, Carol. I have 4 beautiful children, Kristen, Allison, Jonathan, and Noel. And when I talk with the immigrants who've come in and work in our plant and who we work with to become citizens and learn English skills, their stories are the same stories. They have such pride in their family. They talk about their children graduating near the tops of their class in college. We've worked with the literacy volunteers from Rensselaer. They come in and they teach our employees during the daytime, and they come in at night. They're unpaid. They have an unbelievable passion for helping people. And the thing we like at Blash, we work with legal immigrants. We have an ESOP plan, so they own a piece of a rock. They have health care packages. These are not people looking for a handout. These are people looking for a hand up. And that's what we try to do.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And right here next to me, Kadra Mohammed, you're the president and CEO of the Center for Somali Women's Advancement in Columbus. Perhaps you could share about your efforts as a community-based service provider to facilitate integration.
Thank you. Good morning to everybody. I'm honored to know that the work that I do as an ordinary person in Ohio is recognized by the White House. It's truly a remarkable thing. It's encouraging. Let me start with, I am originally from Somalia. I came to the United States in 1998 from Europe, staying there several years after the work broke in my home country. I made my way to the United States through what's called a diversity visa, the visa lottery. So I had the privilege to have the working permit and the great opportunity to become a citizen of the United States of America a few years later. So I moved to Columbus, Ohio in 2000, and amid the large influx of Somali immigrants to that state. So it is difficult for everyone to move into a new country and relearn everything, a new language, cultural nonsenses, and social environment. With another group of women, we decided to form a service organization for the Somali community, particularly the Somali women. We meant to facilitate the smooth integration of the Somalis into their new home. Then, since then, the Somali community in Ohio has gone through remarkable transformations. The greatest need at the time was the English language or English second language, ESL, classes, employment services, and housing assistances. We established partnerships with existing social service organizations such as the Jewish Family Services, the Ohio State University. We were successful in recruiting volunteers, navigators, and securing funding for English classes and job placement services. We engaged in an effort to educate local elected leaders and policymakers about the needs and the inspiration of community. And one of the most rewarding aspects of the work that we started long time ago was that a significant number of Somalis became U.S. citizens, and many of them are enrolled in college. The results of the work that we were doing were readily feasible right away. And to add to that, by 2008, many Somalis became U.S. citizens, and many of them were running successful businesses. During President Obama's first election, about 12,000 Somalis voted in Ohio. So that was very remarkable and rewarding results for the work that we are doing in Central Ohio.
Thank you so much. And last but certainly not least, Teresita Wiesel, Vice President and Dean of Continuing Education at Westchester College in Valhalla, New York, and Executive Director of the Community College Consortium for Immigrant Integration. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your efforts to support the education goals of immigrants seeking services?
Sure. Thanks, Laura. I too want to say what an honor it is to be here. I came to this country from Cuba as a toddler with my parents and my older sister, and have often heard growing up that my parents, as many of us and our parents in the room, left everything behind with the exception of our education, and that no one could really take that from my mom and dad. If I could just share with you briefly, fast forward to March of 2009, my father had suffered a stroke, and I stayed overnight in the hospital with him. And we talked a lot about a number of different things, but it was just before that I had started focusing my work on education and workforce training, specifically for English language learners and immigrants. And after going back and forth with my dad into the wee hours of the morning, he said to me, "I'm so proud of what you're doing. I think one day the president's going to call you to learn more about it." My dad died 2 weeks later. My family knows that story. I've never shared that story, but Dad was right. So it's really a personal privilege and honor to be here. Community colleges across the country have the power to affect change in the lives of so many thousands of our students and the communities that we serve. And so at Westchester Community College in 2010, the college opened what we call the Gateway Center. The Gateway Center is our physical and symbolic demonstration of commitment to what is a very diverse county population just north of New York City. 1 in 4 residents in the county is foreign-born, and they themselves and their children are really seeking to advance themselves through education, moving on to bachelor's degrees, and through the workforce training that we provide. I'm specifically focused at the college on supporting our English as a second language program that serves over 5,000 individuals a year, and then using that program to leverage the power we have to integrate citizenship education, work-based DSL, and other forms of education with our English language learners. So I'm very delighted to be providing citizenship education not only to our students, but to our employees, to the families of our employees and our students in Westchester County, and to have recently joined with the National Immigration Forum on the Bethlehem Project, now called the New American Workforce Project, to partner with many of the employers and corporations in Westchester County that are seeking to advance their workforce as well.
Thank you. So I think from having heard all of our very esteemed panelists, you'll come to the same conclusion that I have, which is nobody can do this alone, right? It takes everyone coming to the table, federal, state, local governments. We must bring our equities, the labor movement, adult education, the business sector, and community-based organizations providing those direct interventions to individuals to really build the new American workforce. So I like that. It resonates, to build the new American workforce and build citizens, because citizenship is really, I think, the great equalizer that brings us all together and gives us all equal access, equal rights, equal responsibilities, and that sense of ownership in America. So I'm really so honored to be a part of this group and to hear about what you're doing. I have a few questions that I'll pose. The first one is for the benefit of all of us sitting around this auditorium, and it focuses on model practices or best practices. So knowing that in your community, everything looks a little bit different, the people you're serving might not all be the same, but if I could ask each one of you to briefly talk about any model practice that you think could be able to be used across a variety of settings so that we can take something back and perhaps implement that for ourselves, I'd appreciate that, and I think the audience would as well. So I'll go down the line if you'll permit me. Thank you.
Thank you again. At the Center of Somali Women's Advancement in Columbus, Ohio, we were able, again, as I said before, to recruit successfully volunteers and navigate the system and partner with the institutions such as the Ohio State University. Again, I would like to mention that there are 5,000 Somali businesses in Columbus, Ohio alone. This progress from a new immigrant community to locally integrated party of Columbus fabric did not come easily without the partnership of the city of Columbus. The mayor of Columbus, Michael Coleman, believes that it's not just enough to be tolerant toward diversity. It's necessary to embrace it. That's why he created the New Americans Initiative, an office that has a Somali official and Latino one to give immigrants success to the city services. If I take an example of how we are able to draw a model for what we do is, in order to recognize the economic and social contributions of Somalis in Ohio and appreciate the supportive role of our elected officials, I proposed to the board of directors of my organization, Center for Somali Women's Advancement, to celebrate the International Women's Day annually, which has never been celebrated in Ohio. And the board agreed and passed the resolution, and Columbus City Council adopted this resolution for March 8th to be celebrated in Central Ohio. The International Women's Day at the State House in Columbus, Ohio. That meant it to become a platform that brings together Ohio's most prominent women to celebrate the achievements of women in Ohio by recognizing contributions of diverse women, by calling for a better society where gender parity is politics, health, employment, family life, education, media, and culture is a lived reality. This is a lesson for all of us that things will not get done until we start doing them, and by doing things together, we can turn brilliant ideas into impressive outcomes.
Thank you. Sounds like maybe your mayor's ready to sign on for the Cities for Citizenship.
Thank
Maybe.
you.
We'll see.
Before I begin, I also want to acknowledge my wife and Lucia and my son Camilo, who are in the audience today, and as well as Valerie Longer, Vice President for SCIU, and thank also Mayor Garcetti for the nomination. I think what makes Building Skills Partnership very unique is its partnership. It's basically, it's the union as one of its partners, also community, as well as the employer, who are part of our collective bargaining agreement, and as well our client sector, which is the commercial real estate industry. And the executive board is made up of those four groups. Initially, we came together to create vocational training for our membership, but over time, we saw that vocational training was very limited in the sense of what the services it provides and the opportunity it gives to our membership, knowing the need for citizenship of our membership was so great. So eventually, as we moved forward, it was a question of vocational, then green cleaning, and really trying to create English as a second language as an opportunity for workers, and then eventually merged into the question of citizenship. And I think the question of citizenship for us was key, because then it really change of status for our membership was critical for their own personal success. Personal success, not just in their jobs, but also with their families and participation in their community. So, I think one is partnership and finding partners that are going to be able to create an environment for workers, for those who are seeking these services, to be able to create a partnership that's going to really encompass a broader audience for them to participate in. And then two, I would say, is making sure that the services that are provided are not just one-dimensional, but that they're multidimensional in its delivery and delivering those services. Because eventually, you know, the folks who are seeking change in status, and I say status because not everybody's eligible for citizenship, and people are just trying to get worker status in the country, is that their parents, right? They're parents of children who are in the school system. They have challenges around their language and participation with their teachers. So it's important that we're trying to not only teach them English as a second language, but also trying to give them the parenting skills that they need in order to be able to help the education of their children. And then continue on within their vocational training and giving them computer skills, language skills, as we just mentioned. And then finally, hopefully, all that comes together to become a pathway to change in status or citizenship. And I think it's really important that those services are holistic and not just one-dimensional.
It was wonderful to hear Mayor Garcetti today talk about, you know, the municipality, his city also becoming part of the project. And a couple of weeks ago, we actually met with one of our many mayors in Miami-Dade County, and there is huge interest on a particular municipality. So we will have that will be a great share with Mayor Garcetti to speak with our mayors, because I think it'll be great synergy with that. The other incredible opportunity that we see, and we're starting to talk about nationally, is our corporate offices in our hotels. There's a Marriott Renaissance here in DC that's part of the program. There's a Hyatt in DC on Capitol Hill that's part of the program. Imagine getting Hyatt corporate. Imagine getting Intercontinental Hotel corporate. Imagine getting Starwood and having it on the employee application as a benefit for the employees. Those are the kind of things that we're talking about. And I can tell you, I think you know our industry is highly energized. We have a lot of fun, as you know. We're in the good news business, taking care of all of our visitors. And by 2020, we will have 3.3 million employees in the United States in our industry. So I think that is going to be a great model for us, one that we're already working on.
Les Lack, I just want to say that I think Blash, as a manufacturer, represents America at its best. It's the things that we do very, very well. We have a passion about people. Our leadership group has a passion about people. Our president, Dave Bolbrek, has a passion for people. We employ people from other countries: Bosnia, Herzegovina, Ghana, Libya, Sudan, Egypt, Russia, Turkey, India. We have issues with that, though. People who do not speak the language can only reach one level within our company. How do you get ahead? We have people who have graduated from college who are doctors who are working in our plant. We have partnered with the literacy volunteers in Rensselaer, especially Linda Feldman, who really are so dedicated to helping people who have just come to this country to learn the English language and to get a start. If they don't know English, they are not going to assimilate into our society, and they are not going to be able to understand work instructions or to really contribute in the manufacturing atmosphere to its fullness. And our whole staff, Jack Parrish is our president, used to be in HR. He's worked with a lot of these people when they come in. And they're really people who want you to help them, but they're not looking for a handout. They want to learn, they want to get ahead, and a lot of them have left and gone on to college and gotten better jobs, and their families have done so exceptionally well, but you really need to partner within your community. We partnered with the International Refugee Group, and they sent in people from especially Bosnia after the war. We had about 6 or 7 that came. And you have people who put on their application, why did you leave your last job? Because my country was trying to kill me. Now, I'm serious, that was on one of our applications. So you have people that are really looking for a new start. They're passionate about what they do. They have a strong work ethic. And I'm very proud about them when I talk to people like Elshek and OG. We've had 8 people now who have become citizens. We've had close to 50 people in the program. We're not a huge company, we have 90 people, but it's a good model for other manufacturing companies, because manufacturing, we export probably over 50% of what we make to foreign lands. And there aren't many manufacturers that can say that. And a lot of that comes from the focus of the leadership. So thank you for having us here and for the award. It's everybody's award, not my award. It's the teachers' award, it's the immigrants who've come, it's the forefathers' award, it's their award, it's their story. It's America's story, it's what has made America great.
I don't need to say anything. It's easy for me to go last, and everyone really has said the things I was thinking of. So when we talk about model practices, I think of the necessity to build networks, to really create a web in your community of partnerships. We mentioned a lot of the partners that are critical to this. I don't know that we said specifically immigrant-serving, community-based organizations, but they're really critical in reaching out to our immigrant communities. Having executive-level support, and so it's gratifying to hear Wendy talk about corporate-level support in the hospitality industry, and being able to really articulately and succinctly promote what it is you're doing and get the message across to areas in your own industries and beyond those, so that this isn't a siloed project. It doesn't become a one-off kind of activity, but it's something that really becomes a critical and innate part of who you are as an institution.
Thank you all so much. What I hear from your comments and I pick up on is obviously there's no one single path to citizenship, but the workplace is a critically important landmark for immigrants as they get on that path and make their journey. And what we know is that immigrants say they feel most welcome and most empowered in the workplace. That's where they feel most American, even if they are not citizens. And so what you're able to bring in the support services that you bring on an individual level, because as the Mayor Garcetti said, you have to measure by people, by individuals, not by just the numbers that we're talking about. So it's so gratifying to hear what you're all doing there. I'll pose some specific questions. We have about 10 minutes left, so I'm going to pick on some of you individually to tease out a little more detail. I'll start with Les and Wendy. If you could tell us about the impacts you've seen on employee retention and perhaps morale. What would you say to other businesses who might be on the fence, deciding, is this something that's a worthwhile investment in their employees? Who would like to go first, Les or Wendy?
We have many of the people who came over still working for us. We have an ESOP plan, so they actually own part of the company. They are dedicated to the people that have helped them get a head start. And a lot of these people have stayed with us. They've matured, they've worked their way up through the organization, and they are sought out by other immigrants when they come for advice. I have a guy, Elshek, who is a wonderful person. People from Sudan come to him, they look for him for advice, and they help people in their country of origin too.
The employees that have become citizens they're just electric. They're so excited about it, and they talk about it, and they have their, one in particular I know had her parents come over from, outside of the country. I mean, there's just, it's very, very rewarding. I think one of our challenges, but after today, I don't look at it as a challenge anymore, is the business community. Some of the small businesses and the chambers of commerce, I think now are going to, and for me as well, meeting with all of you, we are going to have a better understanding that it's not just for the hospitality industry, because we have such a high number. It's also for the businesses as well. So that's going to be, I think, a good synergy for us.
Yeah. And do you find that people come back after they gain their citizenship and, they celebrate their success together?
Absolutely, yeah,
that's
absolutely.
great.
And we're good at celebrating.
We like celebrations. For Teresita, if I can you help us understand in the adult education setting what your most constructive partnership? You may have more than one. I wouldn't want you to exclude if there's more than one. But what's a great partnership model to provide adult education services to the diverse set of students that you find are seeking services?
You know, I think it does go back to partnerships, Laura, and our best approach is being able to reach out and promote our adult ed programs. In this case, it might be English as a second language or citizenship education through the networks that we've built with community-based organizations, with faith-based organizations, with our K through 12 districts, recognizing that there needs to be outreach to the parents of those children who are coming through that education pipeline. So I think that I can't emphasize enough the need for partnerships, not only locally and through the community, but with employers, and being flexible. You know, community colleges can be somewhat rigid in their approach to education, so being flexible enough to see what the needs are within the community in these really diverse pockets where our adults reside and work every day.
Yeah, thank you. And for Kadra and David, I wonder if I could ask both of you to speak about, on a personal level, how you feel the holistic integration support services, including citizenship, has changed the lives of those you serve through your organization. Tell us about the tangible crossover benefits that you've seen. So in other areas of their lives, what has that helped them achieve? And, you know, tell us about what you see in the successful employees that have gone through this process and how they inspire others.
Yeah, thank you. I can say in 10, 14 years, I will see the Somali community, an immigrant community, a refugee community, people who come to a new country, have to learn new language, adapt to new culture and all that, into a very innovative and transformed community into the society. I see the rewarding part aspect of the work that people like me or service organizations or the city of Columbus has done, the impact, the positive impact that it had on those individuals and community and in general. I can take some examples of some women who came to the country without their husbands. The role of women in Somalia was to be a homemaking. It happened that the first time in their lives, many women were forced to take jobs outside of their house and to maintain, to earn an income for their family and maintain their household needs. So I see this become a strength for them. So the classes, the services, the steps that have been taken by the social services community in Columbus, Ohio, have really met the needs for those women. Over the years, I have seen women who, from illiterate in their own language to enrolled in a college, women who have taken jobs, women who have become nurses, one even a medical doctor with 4 children after 10 years of struggle. I mean, what's good about in America, in this country, that we are all proud of as citizens of it, is that it's a land of opportunity. You can champion up to the sky. You can become a good citizen who do impact himself, herself, and become productive in the society. I take example of myself as a young person from a war-ravaged country. The war broke 2 months after I graduated with a degree in history. I flee my country to neighboring Kenya, then I went to Europe. I was still soul-searching in terms of where to belong, which country to go. I went to Europe, it didn't work well for me. Then I happened to become in the United States citizen, and I was able to go back to school and earn master's in social work and contribute back to my community and help the Somali community to become good citizens, productive citizens, and better citizens for all the community.
I'm going to echo what Kadra said. Is, you know, for our organization, we've had some great success stories, and we're workers. And understand, our organization is made up of both documented and undocumented immigrants. immigrants. You know, we don't discriminate by saying we're only going to give services to the documented group. We want to be able to really lift everybody as immigrants to this country to be able to get the life skills they need in order to be successful. But you know, I've seen when workers do get their citizenship, and especially when they get it through their union, it becomes that much more of fulfillment for themselves personally, and how it really changes the demeanor of themselves, because then they become, and they know they're full participants in this country, and especially seeing when they come back from their first time from voting, it's very impactful. It's very impactful because now they are no longer sitting on the sidelines and watching something happen. They're actually participating in part of it. And also just, you know, a lot of our members came to this country from Central America, left war. They came here, you know, from destabilization. They came from Mexico because of poverty. And a lot of them didn't come with the literacy skills that they needed in order to be successful in this country. But through the programs that we have, we give them that first taste of self-empowerment. And then they have that first taste of education. And I've seen a lot of our members not satisfied with just learning a second language, but actually wanting to succeed in a second language and moving on to trying to get their GED, and really trying to really see how they can become, how they're starting to prepare themselves for hopefully what will become an executive order come before the end of the year. So they're in a pathway that they can now, when that time comes, when that moment comes, they're prepared and ready to embark on what they are trying to find for themselves, and that's an American dream.
Yeah, thank you. And I think one last comment from Kadra.
Yeah, I just want to add that the preparation for the citizenship test itself is a very integral and important component of the people to move into the integration. I remember one time when I was teaching a basic English class for a group of Somali women who were even illiterate in their own language, and that was part of becoming a citizenship. They had a long way to go, and from ABC to pass the test. And the way the exam is designed, it is the way that's welcoming and making new Americans realize what they have earned, the privilege that they are going into. When the history talks about the founding fathers, the laws and rules and regulations, the Constitution, the rights and the privilege that have been given without that citizenship test, a lot of people will not know the good parts in the country. They will only take a benefit of from their personal work. But I do appreciate the immigration system. I mean, I know we have areas to improve, but we have a lot of good things that's going on and happening for the new Americans.
Thank you. I thank you all. I wanted to say in closing, no immigrant, no new American will ever forget those who have helped them on their path to citizenship. And as I look at you and the other champions, you really are the backbone of what it means to preserve our heritage as a nation of immigrants and keep us vital well into the future. So it's been a real honor to hear from you and for you to share your experience with the group. And again, congratulations so very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.